know the whole city rising. A little early, it's a bit surprising. Business moves, now we enterprising. Switch it up, now we improvising. Go to get in the winter collar. Whole squad been trained to go. Fence for life, we throw the foe. Singing this just to welcome bro. To a time, to a time. Time to grind, time to shine. To a time, to a time. To a time, to a time. To a time, to a time. Time to grind, time to shine. To a time, to a time. To a time, to a time. My intuition told me this. To trust the coach, he holds the gift. He knowing when to go with fits. So we knowing when to switch. This year we got the golden pick. Time to see what that pick about. Bad vibes get sent out. Only fans up in this house. We been waiting, yeah, we been patient. Now it's time to cash out, no discount. Super Bowl, yeah, we in route. I don't know when, but it's close. I don't want to overhype, but I just know I like it. So excited, league gon' notice now. You should know the rise. They say two or from that rock. Shout out to Samoa and now it's time to lay the smack down. You think he Dwayne Johnson? Time to be the people's champ. Hit him with the people's elbows, stick together like it's Velcro. You think you can stop us? Hell no, all day I dream about sports. I think I need some Chateau custom with some Dolphins colors, just to let them know we here. Yeah. I know the whole city riding. A little early, it's a bit surprising. Business moves, now we enterprising. Switch it up, now we improvising. Go to get in the winter collar. Whole squad been trained to go. Fence for life, we throw the foe. Singing this just to welcome bro. To a time, to a time. Time to grind, time to shine. To a time, to a time. To a time, to a time. To a time, to a time. Time to grind, time to shine. To a time, to a time. To a time, to a time.
To a time, to a time. Really hope he the man. Hope we found us a gem, like the Heat found Bam. Wanna take time to thank Fitz, cause he put on the show. But the young man up, in the whole city know. Time to catch all the blessings, cash out on the investment. Ball out, don't choke. Fins want all the smoke. Chris Gregg gave hope. Coach flow like spoke. Damn Marina still a go, but to a man on go. Watch to a man throw. Watch to a man scope. Watch to a man dish shoot that we never ever seen before. Fins up, let it win. Born ready for a ring. Maybe 3, 4, 5, 6. It's damn week, use 10.
I know the whole city riding. A little early, it's a bit surprising. Business moves, now we enterprising. Switch it up, now we improvising. Go to get in the winter collar. Whole squad been trained to go. Fence for life, we throw the foe. Singing this just to welcome bro. To a time, to a time. Time to grind, time to shine. To a time, to a time. To a time, to a time. To a time, to a time. Time to grind, time to shine. To a time, to a time. To a time, to a time.
So low, so low, so low, deep. So low, so low, so low, deep.
About them Dolphins, fellas. Dolphins on 3. 1, 2, 3. Dolphins!
You already know, man. We right here with the legend, man. Live and direct, man. Pat Train, and it's going down, man. Solo GWS.
What's up, man? Shout out to Miami Sports News.
It's the new anthem for the new era. Fins up.
Throw them fins up. Throw them fins up. Hit. Throw them fins up. Throw them fins up. Hit. Throw them fins up. Throw them fins up. Hit.
It's the new era and we back up in the mix.
Throw them fins up. Throw them fins up. Hit. Throw them fins up. Throw them fins up. Hit. Throw them fins up. Throw them fins up. Hit.
It's the new era and we back up in the mix.
Throw it up. Throw your foe up in the sky. Throw it up. Let them know that we gon' ride. Where you from? We be reppin' worldwide.
BWA, stay loyal till we die.
What is the come up? We been down for a minute. This the come up. We been reppin' that consistent. This the come up. Now the world gotta feel it. Reppin' so loud, whole world gotta hear it. New era. Dolphins on the clizzard. Tick, tick, tizzard. Till we reach the tizzard. This a never stizzard. Reppin' till we drizzard. So low D, I be reppin' with this hip hop. Throw them fins up. Throw them fins up. Hit. Throw them fins up. Throw them fins up. Hit. Throw them fins up. Throw them fins up. Hit.
It's the new era and we back up in the mix.
Throw them fins up. Throw them fins up. Hit. Throw them fins up. Throw them fins up. Hit. Throw them fins up. Throw them fins up. Hit.
It's the new era and we back up in the mix.
It's the new era
era and we back up in the mix. Ain't no more relying on fits. It's time for Tua to get us lit. That's why we got Waddle at 6 and Jalen Phillips is a brick at 36. We got Javon Hollins, Madden hit stick. Eichenberg protecting hips. 2 whole years and he ain't slipped. Hunter Long, he got that gritter, triple threat, he so legit. Garner Coleman, Jared Dokes, the 7th round was such a gift. That's why we toast, that's why we sip, that's why we reppin' MSM. Miami sports music, don't confuse it, don't abuse it. Unless you want a new contusion, real talk, ain't no illusion. Solo D started a movement, MSM the institution. TD Fins the contribution, yeah, we started a new unit. Throw them fins up, throw them fins up, hit, throw them fins up, throw them fins up, hit, throw them fins up, throw them fins up, hit. It's the new era and we back up in the mix. Throw them fins up, throw them fins up, hit, throw them fins up, throw them fins up, hit, throw them fins up, throw them fins up, hit. It's the new era and we back up in the mix. MIAMIDOLPAINs. When do I begin? I've been rapping since a kid. If you rapping, then we can. TWA, if you rapping, then we can. Welcome to Percival. We asking what would Shula do? He would take the narrative and spin it like a hula hoop. He say let it Coach Flow. Coach Flow gon' do his thing and he gon' bring it to it in and to it. Come and change the game. Watch the squad ball out. Got the fans all excited. Coolers out. Grills on. Got the tailgate ignited. It's the Aqua Society. They know we stay united. DWA. We be down and start a riot. Throw them fins up. Throw them fins up. Hit. It's the new era and we back up in the mix. Who that? So low, so low, so low.
Kind of down. So good. But that's how we put it down. We put it down every time. When it's time to show up for the fans, we out here.
You did. They know it's coming. Yeah.
Yeah, here with it, man. Let's go. DWA, man.
Hard times, can't stop me cause I'm all grind, can't block me cause I'm gon' shine, do the greatest shit of all time, I'm feeling like I'm shooting, play perfect like I'm shooting, put working like I'm shooting, undefeated like I'm shooting, play perfect like I'm strategize, stay corporate with a savage side, it ain't about winning, it can't have my time, I got no time, I only focus on the bottom line, I gotta grind, strategize, stay corporate with a savage side, it ain't about winning, it can't have my time, I got no time, I only focus on the bottom line, I gotta grind like Shula, playing for perfection like Shula, running with the winners, no losers. We are not the same, don't confuse us. We are not the same, don't confuse us. Playing for perfection like Shula. Running with the winners, no losers. We are not the same, don't confuse us. Don't confuse us. Hard times, can't stop me cause I'm all grind, can't block me cause I'm gon' shine, do the greatest shit of all time, I'm feeling like I'm shooting, play perfect like I'm shooting, put working like I'm shooting, undefeated like I'm shooting, play perfect like I'm shooting. Hard times, can't stop me cause I'm all grind, can't block me cause I'm gon' shine, do the greatest shit of all time, I'm feeling like I'm shooting, play perfect like I'm shooting, put working like I'm shooting, undefeated like I'm shooting, play perfect like I'm shooting. Who that?
So low, so low, so low. So low, so low, so low. Rest in peace, Don Shula. Still perfect.
guys, I'm Danny Johnson, CEO at TPP, The Positive Porpoise.
I'm Jason Miller from Fins Up SoCal Fan Club.
I'm Scott Howell from Atlanta Dolphin Club.
Mark Angelo, NorCal Dolphin Club.
And you're listening to Clock Blockers, Miami fans' #1 morning show.
Run it, 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 run it.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? It is your boy, Stephen D, and we are live on this beautiful Hump Day, Wednesday, December the 8th, right here live on Miami Sports Music Podcast Network, home of the #1 Miami fan morning show, Clock Blockers. I am your host, Stephen D, and I just want to say good morning to all you beautiful people. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up early. We got a great show lined up for you today. Got a lot of people going to be on the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I am glad that you all are here and hanging out with me today. Should be it's going to be a lot of fun. And I'm glad you're starting your morning here with me. So what's up? How's everybody doing in the chat? I'll say hi to y'all here in a minute. Let me go ahead and get through the housekeeping stuff first. Number one, I do want to say to the folks, if you haven't done so already, hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I can't do that without your help. I can't grow without your help. So when you guys are able to hit that like button, it lets those YouTube algorithms and those Facebook algorithms know, hey, look, this show might be kind of cool. Maybe some other people might want to see it. So hit that like button on your way in and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Hey, if you do want to sign up and become a paid member today, there are a lot of benefits for being a member. So sign up, become a member today. There's a lot of cool things that you get. So make sure you sign up today, become a member. All right. There are plenty of amazing people that are members. 1, 2, 3, 4 Eps, who sounds like he had a rough day yesterday. We'll get into that, my man. Sway 2387, Trey Burton, Trucker Sean. Who else is up in here that's a paid member? Caddyshack, Big Time 666 $. Flipside Fishing. Chef Zhu is in the building. Who else I got up in here this morning? I'm just seeing Shake Money. What's up, Shake Money? What's going on, Shake Money? Who else is up in here? I just want to say good morning to all the members of the family. I got to hit my Vin Diesel voice on y'all. Family. Yes, make sure y'all do that. So sign up, become a member today. There's plenty of seats waiting at the table for you. If you guys do want to donate to the channel and help the channel grow, there's 3 different ways you guys can go about doing that. Way number 1 is using the YouTube Live Super Chat, which is the $sign down at the bottom of the chat, okay? That is the first way you guys can donate to the channel and help the channel grow financially. Even if it's $1, it doesn't matter. It all goes towards helping an amazing thing, all right? Number 2, you guys can also use PayPal, which is MSM Podcast Network, or you can use Cash App, which is $MSM Podcast Network. I will let you know if you use PayPal or Cash App, there's less fees that come out of there, and it always helps with things moving just a little bit quicker when it comes to that kind of stuff. So whatever way you want to use, whatever's comfortable for you, do it, and help the channel grow by donating. I want to give a big shout out to our sponsor, Tail Greeter. Make sure you guys go check them out, tailgreeter.com, or download the app today. Tailgate is a way for fans to express themselves for their love and passion for a team and a city. And the community in the parking allows everyone to be themselves no matter where they're from or what team they root for. When it comes down to it, there's no denying the allure of the game day experience, and tailgating is the glue that holds it all together. Just want to remind y'all, the Boca Raton Bowl is Saturday, December 18th, and Boca Raton, okay? It's an 11 a.m. kickoff. I think it's Western Kentucky versus Appalachian State. And your boy, yours truly, will be there with Tail Greeter doing a live stream with them. So I am super excited. So make sure you guys go check all that out. Should be a lot of fun. So make sure you guys go check that out. All right. I do want to remind you all, too, if you haven't done so already, go follow me on social media at Stephen D. SKPO. That spread kindness, positivity, and love. All right. All right. Who else I got up in the chat room this morning? I got Dolphin Don. What's up, Dolphin Don? Andrevius? What is going on? He said, go FAU. Even though we ain't make a bowl game, we host one. Hey, man, it's still cool. Look, we got a lot to talk about. Andrevius, he said, morning to everybody in the chat. 1, 2, 3, 4 Eps, Estefan. Yeah, just saying good morning to everybody. That level 2 noob. What's up? All right, let's kind of get down into it. So today's going to be a little bit different. I know a lot of you. We're going to touch on some Dolphins stuff, but not as much today. Today we got a lot going on. Okay, so let me explain to y'all how today's going to look. All right, so we're going to talk University of Miami. We're going to talk Miami Heat. We're going to talk very little Dolphins chat, but at 9 a.m., I'm going to have David Dwork, who covers the team, also for Channel 10. He's going to come on. We're going to talk Florida Panthers hockey for about 15 or 20 minutes, so I am excited about that. And then at 9:30, to talk Miami Marlins and also Major League Baseball lockout, we're going to talk Miami Marlins and Major League Baseball lockout with my boy Xavier Scruggs from ESPN, the big superstar that he is becoming. He is blowing up when it comes to the Major League Baseball stuff and also on social media. So I am excited to hang out with my boy Xavier Scruggs, so that'll be a lot of fun. I'm also going to have my man Cameron954 come on sometime this morning and hang out with me. We're going to talk a lot about this, but I do want to start incorporating some of these other teams into the morning show because, hey, look, they are part of Miami. This is Miami sports music, and we all talk about all that kind of stuff. So I did it a lot in the beginning. Football season is kind of taken over, but there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and I just want to, kind of incorporate them too more and more, especially as, we go into the off season. I know you guys want me to talk about some other stuff as we move along, but, hey, look, we're going to do it. He goes, now, Steven, we don't take the other teams serious until the Dolphins ultimately let us down. They're not going to let us down. They're going to go all the way. But I got to talk about the other teams. Von 954 says, I need my Dolphin fix. I got you guys. All right? Don't worry about it. Okay? Y'all are funny, though. Build your platform. Respect 1, 2, 3, 4 Eps says. Thank you, Eps. I appreciate it. Freddie, what's going on? Welcome to the channel. Colin, we don't talk about that Gator stuff here. We're all you all day. All right. So yeah, let's kind of talk about that. Let's kind of talk about let's go right into it and talk about the elephant in the room that is the University of Miami. Okay, so the University of Miami obviously was crazy the last 2 weeks. So let me explain to y'all, for those of you who don't know, kind of what went down over the last several weeks. Manny Diaz obviously just was not cutting the mustard, as they say, and just wasn't, getting things. Here's the reality. The University of Miami is I look at it like this. In the NBA, you have the New York Knicks, right? And when the New York Knicks are better, the NBA is just better, right? And I look at the Miami Hurricanes the same way as that. When the Miami Hurricanes are good in football, college football is just that much better. Because whether you love them or you hate them, they're always fun to watch. And so when they're consistently just not putting out a good product on the field, that's always tough. That for any program, especially for a big one like the U, right? And so I understand that the U have a long way to go, but it seems like every 3 or 4 years we're hitting the reset button as a program, and we just can't quite get over that hump, whatever it is. And it's funny because even Solo we're in a chat and Solo will be like, hey, look, this is what's going on. Why are we hitting the reset button? I know Manny Diaz wasn't the guy. But hey, we got to give him a chance, right? And in college football, it's a little bit different because it's about recruiting. If you can't recruit those 5-star players, you can't compete in the college football level. And here's the other reality too. The SEC kind of dominates college football in those Power 5 conferences. And being as, the U is not a part of that. They're in the ACC, which for a very long time has been pretty much dominated by Clemson and nobody else. You have to take a look at the level of competition, right? But you also go back into the reality of, hey, look, what is Miami going to do to try to make their program better? They have the names. It's not like this program is not without its superstars that hang around the building. You get Michael Irvin when you want to come here. You get what I'm saying? Like, this program always has former superstars that are around the building. What wouldn't, as a 5-star recruit, as a college football player, right? Why wouldn't I want to come to Miami? Let's think about that for a second. It can't be. Recruiting itself is a difficult job. I get it. You're going into parents' houses. You're saying, hey, look, your son is going to be, a 5-star player. He's got a chance to make it to the NFL. Let me bring him in. Let me make him a superstar his 3 or 4 years in college football. Everybody is going to say that. Every coach is going to sit in somebody's living room and say something remotely close to that, right? But what the other problem to that is then you go, okay, well, what else can you deliver? It's South Beach. I know it's not quite South Beach, but hey, man, it's tough to be like, hey, look, when you're in school, you can go to the beach. Let's call it what it is. There are plenty of girls in university. It cannot be that hard to recruit for the University of Miami. Yet they have a very difficult time getting recruits, especially in the state of Florida. Because let's get the other thing straight too. High school football players in the state of Florida are great, but yet they consistently pick schools outside of the state to go to. There's a problem with that. When other schools are able to come into the University of Miami's backyard and poach players, something's got to be done about that. And Manny Diaz was not getting it. Like they weren't able to do it. Right? So, enter what they were doing, which was, hey, look, let's go look for somebody to run this program. Excuse me. And try to bring out the best of what this program has to offer. Because obviously what they've been doing for the last few years is not working. Right? It's not working. So, it's somebody that you have to look and you have to say, hey, look, what can we do to try to move that? Well, I think in order to replicate winning, you have to go where winning has happened, right? And one of the things that I think starts with that is the athletic director, right? So, Miami had athletic director Blake James, who was the athletic director here for a while. And, they obviously were looking for somebody to come and be able to take this to the next level. And Manny Diaz seemed like he was the guy, and Blake James seemed like he was the guy. And it just wasn't what they thought it was going to be. There was, 3 or 4 losses a year. And so what they did is who is at a smaller school, I put that in quotations, but is winning, and who are we able to bring in here? Enter the Clemson athletic director. Clemson, since, for the last, let's call it what it is, 10 years, has been very relevant in college football, playing in national championship games, having people like Deshaun Watson, Hunter Renfro, just a lot of people come through that program and be what they thought it could be, right? And Clemson has been very competitive and putting out, great numbers for an ACC team, and they've been great. So Dan Radakovich, I think I'm saying his last name correctly. I apologize if I'm not. Is going to replace Blake James, who was fired on November 16th after 8.5 years. Radovich is 63 years old. He's from Pennsylvania, but he went to the University of Miami. And he's been part of it. And so I think there's two things that kind of make me happy about this move. Number one, the athletic director is already a part of Miami's history because he's been here, right? And I think that when you look at an athletic director, one of the things that a head coach needs to have is an athletic director who's going to support them and help them with recruiting and help them with what they need to have to be a successful franchise or a successful program. I don't like to call college programs franchises. Successful program. So now you enter in who's going to be the head coach. Well, here's a problem with what the University of Miami did the last couple of weeks. They didn't fire Manny Diaz, and we're still out looking for a new girlfriend. Again, quotation marks. So you're going and you're searching for a new girlfriend, but you haven't broke up with the old one yet. They went about it maybe the wrong way. Because here's a reality, I think, that the University of Miami, there wasn't too many college coaches that might have been a better fit than Manny Diaz. Because maybe Manny Diaz wasn't entirely the problem. But the good thing about when you hit the reset button is you have an opportunity to scrub the program, get the people you want out, and get the people you want in. So Radovich comes in from Clemson. He says, I like Manny, but he's not quite the guy I think we need leading this program. So now it goes into, well, who can be that guy? Well, enter the University of Oregon. University of Oregon head football coach since 2018 has been Mario Cristobal. And Mario Cristobal played for the University of Miami. He's from Miami, Florida. He's a Miami native. He is somebody who can help move this program in the upward direction. Because let's get something straight. University of Oregon, they have a lot of stuff. And Nike's a big part of that, right? And so he's put out some great people. Justin Herbert, right? Herbert was part of Cristobal. They have been, look, he's won 2 Pac-12 championships. He's been Coach of the Year in 2019 by the AP poll. The guy's good. And the guy has a lot of potential. Now, what he doesn't have is a long list of accomplishments. He's got some, but he's not decorated, right? You go back and you look in his coaching career, he was, part of the University of Miami here in 1998 and through 2000. Rutgers O-line, 2000, 2003. Went back to the University of Miami as a tight end and offensive line coach 04, 05, 06. Was the FIU head coach from 2007 to 2012. Great program at FIU that he put together there. Then went to become part of Alabama's. It's so funny. Alabama's coaching tree is so crazy. And, you go and you look at their coaching tree. I mean, I think there's 7 or 8 head coaches in college football right now, all from the 2015 Alabama coaching staff. It's insane. And he was a part of that. And then he goes to University of Oregon in 2017 to be the co-offensive coordinator. And, then that head coach gets fired. He takes over as head coach in 2018, does a great job there for the last few years. And, now he's the head coach at the University of Miami, and we're going to see what he has to offer. I think he's going to make this fun. Now, here's the other thing, too. There's a new committee that is out about building a new stadium in Coral Gables. I think that the University of Miami understands a couple things. The Hard Rock Stadium is great, and it is a great NFL stadium. What it is not, though, is a good college football atmosphere. You go to South Bend, right? You go to the University of Michigan. You go to Ohio State. You go to Alabama. You go to LSU. You go to Clemson. You go to these places. They're right there on campus or right next to the campus. And so the atmosphere is crazy when you have 60 to 100,000 fans just cheering, and the atmosphere is insane. When you go to the Hard Rock for a University of Miami football game, it's not that great. Let's just call it what it is. The atmosphere is not raucous. Solo and I went a few years ago when the turnover chain was out, and they went to the Orange Bowl against Wisconsin. That was essentially a home game. And the atmosphere was cool. Orange Bowl was cool. Don't get it twisted. I had a great time doing it. Solo got to perform the turnover chain song at the Orange Bowl in the pregame. We got to meet Jim Kelly. It was crazy. But I just don't think that Andrevia says if they were winning, that stadium would be full for UM games. I don't think so. It's a lot for these college kids to kind of get through that craziness of the Hard Rock Stadium. It's a lot easier when you're on a college campus and you're telling kids, all right, just go to the stadium. The reason that the University or Ohio State University, the University of Michigan, or Notre Dame, or Alabama, or LSU, or Clemson, or Mississippi State, all these stadiums are on campus. And it's so much easier for a fan to get to the stadium, for a college student to get to the stadium and just be part of that atmosphere. Right? So I have to admit, I would love to see them put a stadium right near the campus in Coral Gables. That would be awesome. Supposedly it's going to be a 50,000 seat stadium. There's a couple of billionaires that are a part of this committee. They're starting to add people to the committee, which I'm finding out on Twitter. And, it looks like they're trying to change the entire direction of the program, which I am all for. You guys got to remember the Dolphins and the Hurricanes used to play at the Orange Bowl. And one of the things about the Orange Bowl that I always felt gave Miami an advantage, whether it was pro or college, is the Orange Bowl was predicated on the fan experience. It was predicated on the fan experience. And what I mean by that is I've interviewed tons of people, and tons of people that have gone to the Orange Bowl, tons of people that have gone to Sun Life or Hard Rock or Sun Rock, whatever you want to call it, all right? Joe Robbie. And one of the biggest things that people will say is, you got to remember, Joe Robbie was built as a dual stadium for baseball and football. It wasn't built with the mind of how close can we get the players to the fans to the field and make it a very raucous atmosphere. It wasn't built with that in mind. And even with the renovations, the seats that are right behind the Dolphins sideline are like $100,000 seats. They're not the raucous fans that you think that they would be. No hate here, just calling what it is. And so even now, the experience is not predicated on the atmosphere there. So if you are able to give a 50,000 seat stadium in Coral Gables, imagine all 50. There's not going to be really luxury seats there. They're going to be, all right, let's pack as many people into this tight space as we can, and let's make it a home atmosphere. I guarantee you that if they build a new stadium in Coral Gables, That first game will be louder than any University of Miami game ever happened at Hard Rock Stadium. Any game. And that's just the reality of what it is. So I'm excited for Mario Cristobal. I think that, believe it or not, I think it's in the right direction. I think it's where the program needs to go. My Flipside Fishing says Miami needs to have their own stadium on their own campus. It's ridiculous to me that they still don't have their own stadium already. Yeah, I agree. And I think that if that's the direction that they're heading in, this program's heading in the right direction. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. All right. That's enough about that. That's enough about the U. Let's talk a little bit of basketball. So the Miami Heat, getting into some Heat talk, are the fourth team in the Eastern Conference right now. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about Miami Heat basketball. The Miami Heat are 14-11. They're 3.5 games out of the first seed. The New Jersey Nets, I keep on saying New Jersey Nets, the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets are 17-7. Look, here's the thing. The East is a fun conference to watch this year. I think y'all need to realize how fun the East. The Charlotte Hornets are 14-12, and they're 4 games out, and we're 14-11. But the Charlotte Hornets are fun to watch. The New York Knicks are fun to watch right now. The Knicks are 12-12, but they're relevant. They're all relevant again. Honestly, the 14th and 15th seed are the Magic, who've won 5 games, and the Pistons, who've won 4 games. Everybody else, including the Pacers, who are 10-16, are still kind of right into it. And you have to realize there's only 15 seeds in the Eastern Conference. You only need to make the top 8 to get into the playoffs. And I think the Heat are in the top tier. So it'll be very interesting, to kind of see, what's going on. You have to look at, what's been happening. I know Jimmy Butler's out again with, he aggravated his tailbone injury after a hard fall. Bam, he's out for a while. I think Bam's out for 6 to 8 weeks, I think. But the regular season's always, look, it's just get into the show. You get into the show, you make a run at it there. And so it'll be very interesting. Bam has to have thumb surgery. I know that. And I think it's going to be a 6 to 8 week process if I'm correct. 4 to 6 weeks. 4 to 6 weeks. He'll have thumb surgery in LA. And so torn ulnar collateral ligament in his right thumb. So look, man, take the surgery now. Get better for the next 4 to 6 weeks. We'll see you in February. Maybe at the end of January. Great. Awesome. You'll still get to play a little bit of the regular season, and come the playoffs, which is 2.5 months anyway, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Now, here's the question. Do the Heat make any more moves to try to build up their team? And I'm not exactly quite sure. Colin LaRoche said, are the Orlando Magic fun to watch? LOL. I'm a Magic fan. Colin, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. I don't know, man. I really think that, there are, I think there was somebody that was talking about, like, there could be a potential trade with the Indiana Pacers. You got to look at those teams that are like at the bottom of each conference in the West and in the East. And if they're already down, if they've only won 4 or 5 games already, is there pieces on their team that can help a team like the Miami Heat make that run? Miami Heat are going to be in Eastern Conference title division, but are they championship contenders? I don't know. I think you have a healthy Bam. You have a healthy Jimmy Butler, Tyler Herro. They're a fun team. They are a fun team to watch. but I don't quite know if they're ready. Look, Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, Tyler Herro, Victor Oladipo, Duncan Robinson, PJ Tucker, Markieff Morris, Udonis Haslem is still on the team, which is always crazy to me that he's still playing. Udonis Haslem is still playing. He's at the end of the bench, but he's still playing. Udonis Haslem easily can play for the Miami Heat as long as he wants to and never have to worry about his spot. Like, I really 100% believe that in my heart of hearts. He will try to become the oldest player and the longest player to ever play in the NBA. And he should. But it'll be interesting to kind of see where they go. Their next couple of games, I am excited because they're facing, I think we're going to get to see the next two games will be fun to watch. They play the Milwaukee Bucks, the defending champions, about to say national champions, the defending champions, today at 7:30. That'll be a fun game. And then on Saturday, they play the Chicago Bulls. DeMar DeRozan, Lonzo Ball. So it'll be fun to watch there. I am interested to kind of see where that whole direction goes for the Heat. But I think it's still too early in the season to kind of find out where we're at. I just know that they're a good team, and they're going to try to make a run at this thing when it's all said and done. So, guys, go support the Miami Heat. Watch if you're in South Florida. If you're able to go to a game, I know it's a lot of fun. But, yeah, make sure you guys go check that out. All right. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit. I know coming up here at the top of the hour, we're going to have David Dwork on. We're going to be able to talk some Florida Panthers hockey. And then at 9:30, we're going to bring on my man Xavier Scruggs, which I am super excited about. Xavier coming on, and David too. But that'll be a lot of fun too because we'll talk Marlins, we'll talk MLB Lockout, and we'll just hang out with my man Xavier, which I am excited about. I know my man Cameron 954 is going to be coming on here momentarily, so we're going to talk a little bit about what I talked about with the Heat, as well as the University of Miami, just to kind of get his thoughts and perspective on it. I know that the bye week obviously is coming up for Miami. So the bye week coming up for Miami, there's not really a lot going on for the Dolphins this week. There's really no news. I think if you want to look at what's going on with the Miami Dolphins this week, I think, like, for example, tomorrow night, we need to be Minnesota Vikings fans. Okay? We need to look at the NFL games this weekend. And yeah, I mean, kind of take a look at, what we're going to root for. So Steelers and Vikings tomorrow night. I think it'll be fun to watch the NFL this weekend and not have in the back of our minds, all right, Dolphins need to win. Dolphins need to win. Dolphins need to win. Let me watch 4 hours of the Dolphins. I get to watch all of the NFL this weekend, which will be fun, right? You got the Steelers and Vikings. You got the Saints and the Jets. Falcons and Panthers. Seahawks and Texans. Raiders and Chiefs. Raiders and Chiefs will be a good game because I think we'll get to see who's the better team there, which I think obviously is Kansas City. But there are some people that still believe that Vegas still kind of has a chance to make a run at this thing. I am not one of those people. Ravens and Browns. I think the Ravens were like the worst first seed in the AFC ever. So this is my thoughts on Lamar Jackson right now. I enjoy watching Lamar. I don't want to see a fall from grace from him, but he has played atrocious, just straight horrible the last couple weeks. And it'll be interesting to kind of see where that goes. I truly think that the Ravens are going to make a fall from top tier to maybe even not even being inside the playoff matchup. So it'll be kind of interesting to kind of see what happens with them as they move forward with everything. So that'll be interesting to kind of take a look at that. All right. Let's take a look. Who else is on the schedule for this weekend? The docket. The Cowboys and the Washington football team play this weekend. Jaguars and Titans. Giants and Chargers. Broncos and the Lions. 49ers and the Bengals. The Bills and the Buccaneers. That'll be interesting, the Bills and the Buccaneers, because I actually look at both teams very similarly. And what I say by that is I don't think that the Buccaneers are all that, and I don't think the Bills are all that, right? So I think we're going to see two teams. One of them's got to win. I don't think there's going to be any more ties this year, but look, I think Tampa Bay is going to beat Buffalo. I really do. It's in Tampa. So we'll see. And then the Chicago and Green Bay play Sunday night. And then Monday night's the Rams and the Cardinals. I think that'll be a fun game too. But if you're wondering who, as a Dolphin fan, do you root for this weekend? You root for the Buccaneers. You're going to root for the 49ers. You're going to root for the Detroit Lions. You're going to root for the New York Giants. You're going to root for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're going to root for probably the Baltimore Ravens against Cleveland. You're going to root for the Kansas City Chiefs. You're going to root for the Minnesota Vikings, and yeah, that's it. That is your root guide this weekend for Dolphins fans. One more time. Minnesota Vikings, Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens, New York Giants, Detroit Lions, San Francisco 49ers, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Hey, that's who you got to root for this weekend. Okay? Facts, it is what it is. Here's a reality. The Dolphins, after they play the Jets, we've been sitting at the 13th seed. We are going to make a huge jump up from 13 probably to 7, 8, or 9 after the win against the Jets. So just be prepared for a huge jump when we win. And yeah, I mean, we might, there's a small possibility, not a small, there's actually there's a decent possibility that after next Sunday, as long as some games fall our way this weekend and next weekend, that the Dolphins could be in the 7th spot in the AFC. I don't know if they will. I think they'll probably be 8th or 9th. But I mean, there is a shot that they could be, depending on how it works. And here's the other thing, too. The more teams that are kind of tied up, we don't necessarily have to worry about the head-on-head matchups then. We don't have to worry that the Buffalo Bills beat us twice. If there's 4 or 5 teams that haven't played each other all within the same, numbers here. Because here's a reality to this. Miami's going to easily, has a strong possibility to end up 4-2 in the AFC East, right? We'll beat the Jets twice. We'll beat the Patriots twice. So we'll end up 4-2 in the AFC East. We just got to keep winning games. Like we got to beat the Jets. Obviously, we got to beat the Titans, and the Patriots. Those are 3 teams in the AFC, so that helps too. Look, I mean, after last Sunday's game or last Monday night's game with the Bills and the Patriots, I am not scared of anybody. I don't think that either one of them strike any fear into, hey, the Dolphins don't match up well against this team. I truly think the Dolphins are a different team than they were playing the Buffalo Bills twice this year, right? And I think the Bills are a worse team now than they were a few weeks ago, let alone several weeks ago. And I understand, New England has found ways to win, but I will also say that I look at that and I say, well, I'm not really, they didn't show me anything. They showed me that they can run Navy's offense on Monday night. Great. Awesome. Your quarterback threw 3 times. And that's what they had to do to win. I'm not saying that's what it was. I'm just saying the one thing I can't stand about Belichick, but he's so good at, is he's so like if you look at that game, let me tell you why Buffalo lost. Buffalo didn't lose because they were a worse team. Buffalo lost because of coaching. Here's an example. The field goal that New England hit, if you look, they were real purposeful about making sure the ball was on the left side of the hashtag of the field, right? Whatever side the ball's on is what side, I guess I call it the hashtag of the field that they're going to place the ball on, whether it's the left or right. They were real purposeful in making sure that the ball was run to the left side so that it would match up, so that if the ball hit into the wind, that it would still have a place to go to. You go look at Buffalo doing the same exact thing in the next quarter. They went on the right side of it. And so that field goal that was missed was not because, I mean, the wind was crazy, but they didn't take into account, hey, maybe we should be on the left hashtag instead of the right. If they were on the left hashtag, that field goal would have went in. They would have been fine. They would have been fine. I'm just saying they would have been fine. So it's little things like that. Going for the extra point, going for the 2-point conversion on that first drive was genius if you hash mark. It was genius if you really think about it. Was genius if you really think about it. Because it forced, if they didn't go for that extra point, they could have then tried to field goal again. I'm just saying. So I look at those games and I say that, and then on top of that, the calling the timeouts were horrible for Buffalo. You were down to one timeout going into the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game. Playing against Belichick. Hello? Horrible. So I don't think that New England is better than Buffalo. I think Buffalo beat themselves by not being as smart as the Patriots were. And that's, by the way, that's not a knock on New England. That's what New England is. New England beats you with head games. You might match up very similar, but because they have smarter coaching, they're going to make that next step. And that's kind of the reality of what you see and where you look at, right? So, I'm not sure what to say other than they do those small things to make it that they can do that they can do it. Andy Reid coaching tree has always been horrible with time management. 100%. There's no doubt about that. Hashtag. It's hashmark. Steven making stuff trend on Twitter instead of talking about football. Leave me alone. Hashmark. It's early in the morning. I haven't had my coffee yet. Y'all are killing me. Leave me alone. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think we learned anything about the Buffalo Bills or the New England Patriots. Do you? No. We learned what we already knew. Belichick is smart. McDermott couldn't keep up with his coaching. And so he was playing from behind the whole game. You want to be Belichick, you get up early. You force them to play your football. And you put Wack Jones on his backside the entire game. That's how you beat New England. When we play them in a few weeks, you get Wack Jones uncomfortable. You make sure that you are in the driver's seat and you force Belichick to play to your game. Because if Belichick gets to play the game he wants, he's going to win 9.9 out of 10 times. He's going to win 9.9 out of 10 times, and that's the reality of what it is. All right. Trying to get my man in here, Cameron Scott, as well as my man David Dwork. I'm just waiting for them to come on. I'm going to hit the things to them. Just bear with me a second. Lady and gentlemen. There we go. All right. There we go. Let me bring on my boy Cameron 954. Cameron, what's going on, sir?
Good morning. What's going on, bro?
Yeah, man, I brought you right on, man. Hey, so real quick before I bring David, I do just want to quickly get your take before we get into Panthers talk. Real quick, we'll just start with the University of Miami. What are your thoughts on Mario Cristobal? How do you think that that's going to look moving forward, and also with the new athletic director and finding a new stadium? Potentially, there's a lot of rumors that they're going to go after and make their own stadium in Coral Gables. Just a lot of things moving in the right direction, I think, for the University of Miami. What are your thoughts?
Well, good morning. First of all, Clockblockers fam, I see you, Chef Jew and Pete and Andrevius and all you good guys over there and ladies. How you doing this morning? It's funny. I've been talking to an alumni this morning for the last hour, just going back and forth about the U. Someone who played football in the program. And number one, Mario Cristobal is just one component of a concerted effort by the university. And it started years ago, like, you know, with the removal of Shalala and you know, bringing on some big name alumni and billionaire donors, for that matter. You know, some real estate folks that I have, you know, good knowledge of. You know, it's just all part of the program. So number one, you know, Manny Diaz aside, he just wasn't cutting it as a coach, even though he, you know, was born for the program. Mario is, you know, a champion in the program. He's respected and he's a winner. Number
Correct.
one. So that's a good cog. Number two, bringing on, you know, infusing the capital into the program is something that it was sorely needed. And I think the most important component of all this is the stadium, right? So when the university sold the OB to the city of Miami, and it was torn down to make room for what is now called Lone Depot Park, where the Marlins play, and they relocated to Hard Rock Stadium. You can kind of simultaneously see the downfall of the program with that. You know, over the years, that move slowly deteriorated the culture of the University of Miami Hurricanes football program. And you know, I was telling this alumni this morning, anytime you liken, you know, like I'm a chef and have a kitchen background, and we call the kitchen the heart of the house. The stadium is the heart of the house of the program, right? You rip that out, you rip out the heart of the program. And that's exactly what you've seen. You've seen the slow migration of homegrown talent go to others, you know, schools.
That's what I was talking about this morning. When people are able to come into your backyard and pick the best players in the nation to leave out of state, you're never going to have a successful program.
But why? And the why to me is that you've ripped the heart of the house out of the program. You know, so you have kids that, you know, grow up in Overton and Liberty City and, you know, in West Miami and South Miami and Miami Gardens and such. And they look to the Orange Bowl. They look to the University of Miami program as you know, something to get them out and something that they can play for and something, you know, they have dreams of and aspirations to play for. And then when you move that, you know, 30 minutes north to Miami Gardens, it kind of goes away. Like it's the university telling the community they no longer care about you. And these kids don't have the impetus to stay at home and play for a program with secondary coaches and a stadium of facilities that are not in their backyard. And I think that's a big part of that program commitment moving forward.
I 100% agree. All right, we could talk of that a little bit more. Now I have somebody in the back room who's becoming a good friend of the programs as we move forward and as we grow. I'm going to read his Twitter bio because I think it's really good. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a goaltender. I didn't know this. He's a goaltender. He is the beat writer for WPLG Local 10 News. He's a host of Chirping the Cats podcast, and also Odd Man Rush on 5 Reasons Sports. He's none other than beat writer David Dwork. What's up, David?
Good morning. How are you?
Pretty good. That was a good entrance, right? I give you a good one.
Solid.
What's up,
Good
man?
morning,
How's
Dave.
it going, man?
Not too shabby, man. All good on the hood.
Hey, man. Look, I brought you on because right now, Florida Panthers are the hottest team in the NHL. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, last night's game, they certainly had a couple bumps in the road, and they were quick to point that out after the game. But I mean, overall, yeah, it's been a great season for the Panthers so far, and the prospects are there.
We can't all be perfect except the 72 Dolphins. Bang, bang. Look, here's the reality. You look at the team right now, I feel like I'm trying to understand why people in South Florida aren't becoming more excited for this team, because I don't know, and I know it's the beginning of the season and we're a long way from the playoffs, but I don't think there's a team that can match up with them in a 7-game series or a 5-game series. Like, I don't see it happening. I think that they're from top to bottom, no matter what line it is, no matter who's between the pipes, they are a good, solid team. And you're not going to win them all. But it was a fun game watching last night, though, too, right? So I just kind of think that's my view of that. What are your thoughts about everything?
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly built to last this season. I mean, we've seen kind of a strength of the team has been the depth, right? Like, they've been without Barkov, they've been without Duclair, Forsling, they've missed Sam Bennett, Sergei Bobrovsky was out for a little while. Like, they've had different guys pop in and out of the lineup this year, and overall they haven't really skipped a beat. So I mean, certainly the depth has been not only like one of the key strengths, but it's also helped the team kind of maintain their stature on top of the league, despite having several guys be out of the lineup so far this year.
100%. Cameron?
No, I agree. And so my question to David would be, what do you see as the weak point, a third of the way into this season? I mentioned the goaltending is kind of fallen off, or maybe it came back down to where we expected them to be. And I see that kind of as maybe the Achilles heel of the team. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, the goaltending is maybe on the, I guess I wouldn't say a weak point of the team, but when you compare it to some of the other attributes, I mean, it's been not as consistent, especially the last couple of weeks. You've seen Sergei Bobrovsky kind of, get a little leaky at times compared to how well he played earlier in the season. And Spencer Knight, he's going through some growing pains as well. I mean, obviously the overtime goal last night was something that you'd like, you wonder what happened there. And I mean, just overall, I'd say that might be something that still could use some improvement more than other things. I mean, we've seen the power play that's really been a struggle so far. But going back to what I said earlier, I think part of that is just because you've had so many different guys rotating in and out of that top power play, whether it be for performance-based or injury-based or whatever. So it's been a hard time to build that continuity, that chemistry that, a top power play needs to perform at that high octane level. So yeah, there's definitely areas that they can clean up, which I think is a good thing, considering you're at the top of the league. You're already having this really solid season so far, and yet there's still room for improvement, which I think just kind of goes to show that this team, the ceiling, we haven't really quite seen it yet.
I have a question. Why, I'm still learning more about the game of hockey when it comes to goaltending, right? And you look at it, I don't understand why you wouldn't have Spencer Knight in there night in, night out, every single night between the pipes, and just let him get that work. Let him get that experience. I know he's playing a lot more than he did last year, obviously, but like, why, I look at it like baseball, right? You let a young pitcher come up, you learn the ropes. He's going to get knocked around, home runs hit off him, but he's going to learn. And what's the equivalent for that in hockey? And why wouldn't you see Spencer Knight more between the pipes?
Well, I mean, to kind of go along with what you were just saying, I don't think you pay a starting pitcher to be one of the top 4 or 5 paid starting pitchers in the league and then just sit him on the bench because you got a young rookie coming up. The Panthers put themselves in that position, giving Sergei Bobrovsky that contract. And it's not like he's playing horribly. Like, he's playing, decently enough. And especially this season, he was playing really well. So, in regard to Bob, like, you can't just kind of say, okay, well, we know we're paying you all this money and we know you're supposed to be this, this 2-time Vezina winning goalie that's supposed to be the backbone of our team, but we're just going to put you aside and let, the young guy come in. When they signed Spencer Knight to his ELC season before this one, they knew that he was going to have to sit behind Bob and kind of learn the ropes. And ease his way in. I think that was what they were looking to do with him. Because remember, Spencer Knight's still just 20 years old. His best hockey is well ahead of him. He's not even going to start really peaking physically for another 3 or 4 years at least. So this is, I think, an opportunity for them to let him learn the ropes and maybe a little baptism by fire. And if he struggles, get it out of the way now. So that way in, maybe 2, 3, 4 years, when you're looking at him as a guy that is hopefully going to start 60, 70 games for you every season, that he's battle tested. He's been through all the situations. He knows all these different, little ins and outs, things like what happened yesterday. He's gone through it mentally. He's gone through the motions. He understands, what to do, what not to do. So I think it's a good situation for Spencer Knight. I don't think, just going through, talk about historically, going through the hockey record books, you don't see many 20, 21-year-old goalies not only succeeding at this level, but leading their team and carrying their team. It's extremely rare when a young goaltender can do that. I mean, you think of like a Jordan Binnington in St. Louis a few years back, and even he came on midway through the season. Or you want to go back in time to like a young rookie goaltender. He wasn't a rookie, but somebody who at a young age led his team to a cup. You think of Martin Brodeur in the early 90s, and that's going back 30 years at this point. So I understand that you want to see Knight.
I do want to see Knight. I'm excited to watch him. Every time I get excited. I think he's a fun player to watch.
Yeah, nothing at all wrong with that. I would just say understand that he's still super young, still super green, and considering Bob's been playing pretty solidly this season, there's no reason not to let Knight just kind of learn and ease his way into the mix.
And I got a question, Dave. Looking at this team and you kind of see where we just discussed, kind of their weaknesses or what have you. What would you add going into the playoff push later in the year? Or what do you think this team is lacking?
Offensively, I think maybe just if they need face-off help, that would be an area that they've struggled this year. Although because you've got a Noah Chari who's hopefully going to be coming back in the spring, he's certainly going to be a help in the face-off circle. And again, like I said before, Barkov's been out. You've had Bennett that missed some time earlier in the year, so. That's really the only thing in the forward area that I would say that needs a little help. Whether they're going to go out and get it, we'll see how things play out. I think they'd like to add 1 or 2 more defensemen at the NHL level. I mean, it's been nice of late. You've seen Lucas Carlson kind of step into a bigger role, and hopefully that's something that can play out over the course of the season, and maybe they won't need as big of a need to bring in somebody. But we've seen since Bill Zito arrived that he really likes to add defense in and have that depth on the back end. And even though they just waived Kevin Knutson to make room for Carlson with Ulevy coming off IR and with Forsling coming off IR, it still wouldn't surprise me at all to see them add 1 or 2 defensemen between now and the trade deadline.
Let me ask you, there was a national story that broke earlier in the season. Joel Quinneman ended up signing his resignation papers and leaving the program, and it ended up allowing for Andrew Brunette to be the head coach here. What have you think about Brunette so far and what he's done so far being the interim head coach?
Yeah, I think it was the smart move for them to have Brunette step in for Joel Quenneville and kind of keep the ship steady as they go. Mm-hmm. Brunette, he was hired by Quenneville when Q first arrived 3 years ago, and he's been here basically, he's been here the whole time since then. His role grew and grew over the years. He was leading the Panthers power play. He's been leading drills in practice and been a big part of that already for the last couple of years. And he's been in the meetings. They've worked together. He knew exactly what this team was trying to accomplish on the ice, and they've really been able to keep that moving forward. And I think it's the best thing that could have happened for this team, just because they were really kind of reaching a peak. Maybe not a ceiling, but they were certainly building towards something. And you don't want to stifle that momentum with a sudden coaching change for a pretty crazy, controversial issue that happened, something that shook up the entire league. So I think bringing in Brunette was the smart move, and I think he's been doing a good job. I think the team, as we've seen, they're still at the top of the NHL. There's still areas that they can improve on, but overall, you're talking about a team that's looked like a Stanley Cup contender. They're built like a cup contender. And the coach knows how to drive this force. So I like the move. I think it made a lot of sense. And I think the team has responded well to Brunette.
Is there a rush to find a replacement, or what? Or the better question is, why wouldn't they name him permanent new head coach?
Well, I think it's just kind of keeping your options open. I think, giving him the interim label and letting, kind of giving him a chance to see, because he's still a young guy in terms of coaching talk, and he's never been a head coach before at any level, really. I mean, even when he was with the Minnesota Wild for a while, he wore a bunch of hats for that organization, and he coached and he was an executive in hockey ops. He did a lot of good things, but now he's in this new role at that top level that you could be at, and coaching a team that is considered among the few that could really contend for a Stanley Cup. So I think that it's just kind of like a steady as she goes, give him a tryout. There's
no reason to rock the boat. No reason.
Yeah, and there's
to rock
no
the
reason to drop that label on him and really put yourself in a corner either. Let's give him the season, see how it goes, and if it goes really well, and all signs point to he's the next coach, then in the offseason they'll make it official and they'll have him be the new head coach. And if, for whatever reason, it doesn't go well over the next, 4 to 6 months, then you can go out and you can start looking for, a bigger name or whatever you want to say. But I mean, I think for what they're trying to do, I think he's probably the best option they could have had do the job. I think it's just in terms of the interim label, I think it's going to depend on what happens over the next several months.
Cameron?
The players trust him. You don't want to rock the boat, like you said, especially after such a controversial and abrupt change, especially someone with the notoriety and history of Coach Q. Brunette has been groomed for this position, may have come at an earlier stage in that process than I think was planned, but sometimes, things happen like that. And at least he's been prepared, and this team hasn't shown any drop off from Coach Q.
No, that's the thing, that they're still playing the same styles and the same systems, and they're still able to kind of do the same thing. The differences in coaching styles are going to be more philosophical. I think like what we saw right before Barkov's lower body injury, when the Panthers offense was maybe stuttering a little bit. So you saw Brunette put Barkov and Huberdeau back on the same line, which we hadn't really seen Coach Q do much over the last couple of years. And I think it's just going to be little tweaks like that you're going to see more in terms of difference in coaching styles. But in terms of like the way the team's playing on the ice and the way that they're attacking you and the way that they're pushing the puck, they're pushing the pace, defensemen are constantly jumping up to create odd man rushes and continuously pressure the opposition. I think it's all going to be very similar. And we've seen that.
Yep.
Hey, this question was actually from Twitter, and I actually just kind of want to get your opinion of it. Is there a concern with Owen Tippett's development, and is he an odd man out when players start returning?
I think that Tippett's been pretty decently developing this year. I think obviously you'd like to see a little bit more production on the score sheet, but I think his play, like particularly his play without the puck and the way that he's been able to set up his line mates and just kind of keep things rolling has been good. But yeah, I mean, it makes you wonder what the coaching staff is thinking. It hasn't really been a point that's been brought up just because guys have been out of the lineup. So, you've seen like Ryan Lomberg's been in there for, I think, 12 straight games now. Maxime Mamin has appeared to turn a corner of late. He looked good on the top line last night. So it's certainly something to keep an eye on. You'd like to see a little bit more production point-wise from Owen Tippett, but he's been driving, helping his line drive, which again, it's just what you want to see them do, is continuously push the puck. He's not turning it over. He's been playing better in the defensive end, which has been a nice uptick for Owen Tippett. But I think, yeah, you wouldn't mind seeing a bit more production from him offensively when we get towards the end of the season. If, when everybody's hopefully healthy, which they're trending in that direction now, and you've got like Mason Marchment back and you've got Achari back, and it's going to be a little bit more tough to get those spots in the bottom six. Yeah, he could be a candidate for getting healthy scratch towards the end of the year if he's not really producing at a higher level. But I will say, I think his overall play has improved, and the coaching staff seems to be pleased with him to this point.
That makes, it's funny because we talk about how can a team get better as the season goes? Who can they bring in from another team at the trade deadline? The funny part is there's players that are on this roster already that haven't been playing because of injury or whatever. And they're going to make this team better in the next few weeks as players start coming back. And that to me is the best part about this team, is we haven't even seen their ceiling yet.
Yeah, exactly. Between, a few guys getting knocked out of the lineup injury, leading to the power play struggling. There are definitely areas where this team can get even better than they have been. And that's kind of the cool thing about this Panthers team, because look, they're constructed on paper like probably the best Panthers team ever in the team's almost 30 years history.
Yep.
And now you're seeing, that product on the ice really starting to flourish. I mean, What are they, like 17-4-4, I think is their record right now, which
Correct.
is unbelievable that they've played, was it 25 games? If my math is not horrible, and they've gotten points out of all but 4 of them. I mean,
38 points. 38 points.
That's pretty remarkably spectacular. So I think, yes, it's great that there's still area to improve, considering, look, they're still having a hell of a season so far.
Are they better than the Lightning?
I think this year they might be, because Tampa doesn't have that depth that Florida has. And that's kind of the key, right? Is something that Tampa was able to do. Like, we knew about, like, they have, the Stamkoses and the Points and the Kucherovs, but when they're able to throw third and fourth lines that are equally productive, and that's what you're seeing the Panthers do this year. I think they've kind of maybe swapped in that regard, because now Tampa, they've still got a lot of firepower. They're just not going to be able to have that same 4-line rolling, scary in the playoffs type deal that they had been going the last few years. Now, Tampa's still a very good team, and obviously these guys hate each other, and I would love to see them play in the playoffs again this year. But
I want my revenge. I want my revenge.
Yes, definitely. And just based on what I've seen so far this year, I would give the Panthers the edge this time around. But we're still a ways away from that. But I do hope.
It's funny. It's amazing to watch Vasilevsky, because anytime he's between the pipes, man, he's the big difference maker, right?
Oh, yeah.
So for me, it's, to your point, I believe the Panthers are the deepest team, 4 lines down in the entire NHL. But anytime that you have Vasilevsky, in goal, he's the great equalizer, and he can keep his team, regardless of their shortcomings in front of him, in the game, every game. It's crazy.
Yeah, he's kind of the X factor. Like, I still kind of maintain that he might be part cyborg, and we just haven't quite figured out how to prove it yet. But yeah, no, for sure. And that's why, they're back-to-back Cup champions. And that's why anytime that team faltered, there was Vasilevsky, the most amazing goalie in the world. 6'5", 6'6" frame of him.
He's a beast.
Stretching out with rubber hips and Stretch Armstrong limbs, and it's pretty ridiculous what that guy can do. So yeah, Tampa's never going to be out of it when Vasilevsky's out there. If the Panthers can get the kind of effort in the net from Bob that you saw the first 6 weeks of the season, and you get this amazing Vezina version of Sergei Bobrovsky in the playoffs, I think all bets would be off for the Panthers.
Bobrovsky, let me ask you, would you rather have somebody like him between the pipes, or a deep, line the way we have it, 4 lines deep? Like, what's going to be the difference maker in a series in the playoffs? Because I still haven't quite gotten what's more like everybody. You go to a different sport, defense wins championships, right? And in hockey, I'm not quite sure what you need to get that team exactly where it needs to be championship contenders, let alone playoff contenders.
Well, I mean, there's, in the NHL, I guess hockey in general, there's always the old adage that, a hot goalie will help any team. If your goalie gets hot at the right time of the year, you might just be able to ride that all the way to the Stanley Cup. I mean, I think back to like the Jonathan Quick Los Angeles Kings from the last decade, where, I mean, look, nothing against the Kings. They were a very well-constructed team, but Jonathan Quick was just on another level for a few years, and he was just unbelievably unstoppable. And, the Kings wrote that to, what was it, 2 cups in 3 years?
Correct.
So, yeah, obviously, I mean, that's always kind of the X factor for any playoff team. And if, like I just said, if Sergei Bobrovsky is playing come playoff time the way we saw him play in October and for the first part of November, other teams in the Eastern Conference are going to be in trouble. And look, it could end up that Spencer Knight, he turns a corner, when we get to the spring and he becomes the guy. I think there's not like there's one guy that's going to be labeled as the starter. It's going to be whoever's playing the best hockey. But in terms of playoff, difference makers, I think the goaltending is always the first thing that everybody looks at, is something that any team could ride their way to a final. And the Panthers have 2 goalies that, could certainly get hot. But, as I say that, I think you can say that about almost any team, that, if their goalie gets hot at the right time, who knows what could happen. Fortunately for the Panthers, they don't have to rely on a hopeful hot streak from a goalie to do that come playoff time. If it does happen and the stars align, watch out.
David Dwork, I appreciate you coming on this morning, man. And tell the people about your podcast, where they can find you. Promote everything, man. Promote yourself.
No problem, man. Thank you for having me on. You can find all my written work at local10.com. My podcast, Chirping the Cats, is downloadable anywhere you find your podcast. I put up a new episode yesterday where I talked to Ryan Lomberg, really awesome guy, one of my favorite guys in the team to chat with and root for. So that episode is out. And then I also do a weekly YouTube show on the 5 Reasons Sports YouTube network called Odd Man Rush every Monday at 2:00. So you can find me there as well.
Guys, go check out all of David's work. David, thank you so much for coming on. I love having you on, and we'll see you again maybe in another couple of weeks, and we'll see where we're at.
Yeah, man. Sounds good.
All right,
Great talking to you, David. Thank you.
Have a good one, brother.
All right, fellas. Be well.
Yep. Bye-bye. I love it, man. I love when I'm excited for the Panthers, man. And the funny part is I've just learned to like hockey in the last few years. Like, love hockey, not like it. I've always liked
in the last 10 minutes.
No, like. So here's the reality, right? I live in the DMV area, so I've never really had a favorite hockey team, and I've always been a fan of playoff hockey. I think playoff hockey in general, no matter who's playing, is the funnest sporting event to watch. Is playoff hockey, no matter who's playing. And so when the Capitals made their run a few years back, that was exciting to watch. But seeing South Florida hockey and seeing the series last year, I got stoked. And I was really upset that we lost the way that we lost. But I knew that this team was on an upward trajectory and that they were moving in the right direction. And when David comes on here and he says, hey, look, this team looks good. It gives me a lot of excitement for this team moving forward. Would you agree?
No, you hit the nail right on the head. Last year they overachieved a little bit. They were not as deep as they are this year. The ownership and the GM did a great job of providing that depth, and not just depth, but quality depth. I mean, you got Thornton, who's been in the league for over 20 years and one of the most respected defensemen out there. Playing on the fourth line. It's pretty crazy how deep this team is, and they're built and constructed to make a long run into to the Stanley Cup. The only thing they have to get past is the Lightning, man. It's kind of like the Bulls and the Pistons back in the day.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, man. So we're going to wait for my boy Xavier Scruggs to come on. I'm super excited to kind of talk to him. Let's kind of get into the baseball conversation a little bit. They're in a lockout for the first time in over 26 years. What are your thoughts about the lockout, man?
Like I said the other day, I think, it's going to be resolved. I think it's all about, the rich, keeping their money and the guys who want to get rich needing or wanting more money, right? Like, and the kind of the peripheral stuff like the universal DH and the playoff format and those things are secondary. I think the big sticking point is, and it's always been a sticking point, is the service time clock and when that starts. But I'll tell you this, like just in a general take, like we cannot have a lockout last until past February 1st. Like for me, that's when pitchers and catchers report. That's when like baseball really starts ramping up, and when the season officially starts, when spring training starts, and when pitchers and catchers report. And players and teams can do their own thing during the off season, and get in shape and work out and stuff on their own. Having them locked out of the facilities isn't such a big deal right now, but starting February 1st, it will be. So I expect, some mad negotiations to happen after the new year in January. I mean, right now you don't see much going on.
It'll also be a big blitz on potential free agents at that time too.
And there's a lot of good ones still out there, which is absolutely bananas.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, give me 1 second. Xavier telling me to send him the link. Copy text. There we go. All right. So I'll ask Xavier the questions about the Marlins as well as about the lockout, but I am super excited to talk to him. It's been a while since he's been on the program. He came on earlier in right around All-Star time in baseball season a few times on the program, and he got pretty crazy. He blew up, man. Xavier Scruggs blew up.
He is blowing. Man, listen, Xavier Scruggs is a great brand. He's a great guy. And it's really cool to watch his growth on social media and what he's doing within ESPN. He's definitely a talented guy that you can see they have earmarked for bigger things there at the mothership.
At the mothership, as people call it. 100%. All right. Hey, this is Miami Sports Music's number one morning show. Clock Blockers, home of the number one Miami fan morning show. I'm your host, Stephen D. I got my co-host for the day with me, Cameron 954 from East 32 Dolphins Tailgate. Super excited that y'all are hanging out with us here. And now a friend of the programs, a friend of the show, my man, y'all know him, y'all love him, my man Xavier Scruggs. What's up? What's up?
Hey, what's going on, fellas? Appreciate you guys having me.
My guy,
how are you doing today?
I missed you. What's up, man? How you been?
I missed you guys too, man. I've been good, man. It's good because it's kind of slowed down, obviously, with baseball season coming to an end. Kind of getting to spend some more time with the family and just relax. Got my 3 kids are just running me wild. I swear I'm more tired right now than during the baseball season, but it's all good, man. Enjoying it.
That's what it's all about, man. Before we get into anything, I have been looking at your social media. You got the little one. Are you getting any sleep?
Yeah, but actually the little one she's 4 months now, Zuri. She sleeps through the night. She sleeps extremely well. It's like the other ones that want to get up in the middle of the night, like acting like they're babies now. So it's like totally flipped the script, but it's been good, man. Super blessed, and I can't complain whatsoever.
You were at the World Series. How was that set up in Atlanta and everything? That must have been cool seeing a World Series in Atlanta.
Oh man, it was absolutely amazing. I mean, just the energy and like the atmosphere, knowing that team hadn't won since 95, 96 time. So like realizing that the fans were so engaged into the game, it was like it actually reminded me a little bit of playing like overseas in Korea or playing Dominican, something like that, where everybody's just locked into the game. And I enjoyed the atmosphere. Got to take my 3-year-old son Zeke, and he really enjoyed it too. So just an amazing time for me, and I didn't really have to do much work. I just got to sit and enjoy. So it was special for me because I'd never been to a World Series.
I saw you got to meet Quavo and everything too, right?
Yeah, like so some rappers were there.
There were a lot of celebrities at that Atlanta
celebrities.
Series, man.
Yeah, definitely. You wouldn't realize like so many people loved the Braves and they just wanted to be a part of them winning that championship.
You know, a couple things at play there, in my opinion, coming out of the pandemic and folks, just getting back out, right, played a big part of that. And then Atlanta having hosted a World Series and God knows when. But my biggest appreciation for Atlanta nowadays is the Battery Park. Like, that's a really cool venue where they built that new stadium. It's so fan friendly and it's so interactive for the fans. And
it really is.
Yeah, if you haven't gone out there, for our folks on the show who haven't gone out there, man, it's a great place to experience Major League Baseball.
Yeah, there was the game. All three games in Atlanta, the Battery, and especially Game 5, the Battery was so overpacked that like there was like lines just to get into the Battery area, and they could like the police had to shut it down and like, hey, you guys cannot get in because it was getting way overpacked, and you could just tell like that's where everybody wanted to be. If you weren't in the stadium, you had to be there. So it was crazy to see. Yeah,
it's a fun place. They got zip lines and everything for the kids. It's pretty.
They got so much going on, man. It's cool.
All right, Xavier, let's kind of I do want to talk about the Marlins, but let's kind of, talk about what the hottest story is in Major League Baseball right now. And that's unfortunately the lockout. Explain to me like just your thoughts on everything, where we're at, where the MLBPA is at compared to Major League Baseball itself. Just I want to get your thoughts on everything.
Yeah, well, I think we come to a lockout, which is, like you said, unfortunate because both sides, both the owners and the PA are so far apart when it comes to some of these topics that really both sides are fighting for. And the worst part is the fans. Like there's so much uncertainty right now that you don't know if it's going to boil into the regular season, spring training, whatever it may be. And fans ultimately start to lose interest, especially if you're not like a diehard baseball fan or somebody who's been watching the game for a long period of time. And you have to remember, we're trying to attract that younger generation to the game more and more, and get them more involved and be able to keep their attention, because we know that attention span is so quick. But ultimately, you have there's so much that it's not just one specific thing. Like, it's not just like the draft pick compensation. It's not just revenue sharing. It's not just the thought of tanking and how do we stop that. Like, all of these things affect each other within the collective bargaining agreement. So that's why it's easier said than done, right? And they've been fighting for this. And the lockout was almost something that was thought to happen anyway, because the both sides were so far apart from one another. And it's a way that the owners put pressure on the players to try to come to a decision and try to compromise a little bit more. And honestly, I don't know how much longer it's going to take. It's that both sides are so far apart.
Xavier, in my opinion, and I want to ask your opinion, the biggest, I guess, hurdle for the negotiations, the biggest one topic, is that service time, when that service time clock starts?
I think that's one of them. I think a big one is kind of, because the younger players now are so much more valued in the game, and rightfully so, because that's where the game is going. And that service time becomes that much more important when you put the emphasis on the younger players, because you think about it, those guys aren't getting paid up until at least arbitration, which is 3 years, and then free agency not for 7 years. So there's a situation there, but then also you think about how that affects everybody else in the industry, right? Everybody else age-wise, there's guys that are late bloomers that, I think of a Patrick Wisdom, somebody that came out, hit 30 on the scene this year, only 30 years old. He's not going to hit free agency for another 7 years, but his value will be just as high as any other 30 home run hitter. So there has to be some type of come to an agreement as to, okay, how long does it take to get to free agency? The service time, does this need to be knocked down a little bit? And what about guys that are older, that are producing, that aren't getting paid very much like they should? So I think it's a combination of all those things.
And for the owners, like, the big sticking point, right, is to start paying those guys earlier in their career, because they want to get as much out of them on their base contract, correct? Like, they don't want those guys hitting free agency at year 21, 22, 23.
Exactly.
But it's unfair for the players. But Patrick Wisdom's a great example of some of these older players, as you mentioned. I just see it as kind of that big hurdle that I don't know. Like, I hope it doesn't boil over into spring training. Like, I was telling Steven before you got on, like, I'd like to see something done by February 1st. Like when pitchers and catchers report. Because that's kind of the start of the season, right? And you hate as a fan to see something, push that back into potentially the regular season. I just would hate to see.
Yeah. No, and it's actually quite sad once you think about it, because for it to even have gotten to this point, it tells you a little bit of something about how long that this is taking, and how both sides want to stick into the ground and stick into the sand and not move from there. And another thing I think about from the players' perspective, we were kind of talking about the big topic issues, like their whole thing is the competitiveness on the field, right? And being able to make sure that every single team is putting out the best product out there on the field. And oftentimes we don't see that with some of these teams that are trying to quote unquote rebuild, or we see it as tanking, right? To get the draft picks that they need to get to. And the biggest thing with the players is these teams are still making so much money, more and more each year. The revenue is still there each year, and they're not putting more money back into the team to be able to put the best product out there on the field.
The Orioles are the biggest example of that. 3 straight years of 100 straight losses. I live up here in Baltimore. I think Camden Yards is the nicest stadium, but man, they're horrible. They are horrible. And there's no incentive for the owner to put the money back into the team.
No, it's really sad when you think about, and I digress a little bit. I think of like a guy like Cedric Mullins. Like, This is a guy that should be a superstar within our game, and he would be if the Orioles were a little bit better of a team, right? Like there's reasons why certain guys don't get the national recognition because you don't have them surrounded by great players on that team. You mentioned the Orioles. I think about the Pirates as well, another team that's quote unquote rebuilding for quite a long time now. Obviously, every team can't be the Tampa Bay Rays and figure it out year after year after year with spending the least amount of money. But still, there has to be some sense of taking what you're earning as a team, as an owner, and putting it back out there on the field for your fans, for the game's sake.
But conversely, you see someone like Detroit, starting to spend, they've drafted well, arguably they have some of the greatest core of young players available that are just hitting that major league or AAA level. And now they invest a little bit. They traded for Rodriguez. They signed Baez, which was huge, for that team. And it's an interesting contract, but that's another sidebar. But I'd like to see more teams do that. They followed their plan and now they're investing. But Baltimore is a clear example.
I feel like the biggest problem of that, and Xavier, maybe you can agree or disagree with me, is there's no salary cap in baseball. And so there's nothing to make the playing field level.
Yeah.
Am I right or wrong?
I mean, you can look at it a couple of different ways. That's definitely one of them. You could look at the salary floor too. That could be another situation to where, hey, you make teams, spend a certain amount of money, and then also the tax, the tax for the teams, the tax threshold.
Because the Yankees can pay whatever tax it is. It doesn't matter for them.
Exactly. And really some of these teams use that tax as an excuse not to pay for free agents and not to be able to go get and make your team better on the field. So I think when you think about it, there's a combination of things that stop the owners, which I don't blame them, right? It's a business. If you can make as much money as you can by spending as least amount as you can, and you don't have to necessarily win, so some of those teams are going to be, some of those owners are enticed by that. So it's definitely a combination of all those things, and that's why all those things have a ripple effect into so many other avenues and topics.
Let me ask you. 1994, there was a lockout, and we saw what it did to the game. It ruined the game. And a lot of people walked away, and by people, I mean fans. And it took them a long time to kind of get back into it. One of the reasons that fans came back to the ballpark was 1998, the summer of 98. And a big portion of that obviously ends up, all these years later have been steroids, right? My question to you is this. What does Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Player Associations need to do to realize we cannot hurt the game like that twice in the last 50 years? Because it's not going to work out well if this goes into the season. Right. How does Major League Baseball and the MLBPA, because I think they play a part in this too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
How do they keep that from happening again? Because I can tell you, I love baseball, but a lot of my friends don't. They don't want to sit there for 2.5 hours and watch a game.
Right. I think there's a couple of things there. I think one is you realize already the situation in 2020, right? Teams lost money. Our game lost attention a little bit, lost some of that upward trajectory. You don't want to take another step back there. So there needs to be a collective understanding of that can't happen again. But then also there needs to be an understanding of, if we're thinking about the future of the game, and that's what that's what the collective bargaining agreement is supposed to do, is think about the future of the game. A lot of the future is on the younger generation. And you mentioned the sitting down, watching a 4-hour long game. That's not happening. So you're already, and also another thing too, you guys know very well, is there's so much content out there nowadays that it's hard to keep somebody's attention to watch a long game like that, especially the younger generation. So there has to be thoughts as to, okay, we can't afford to let us take another step back because of the fans that we already have that have went through this, the fans that are coming in the future, and then also for the game's sake, like this is America's pastime. Like we have to figure out a way to come together and like you said, it's on both sides, right? It has to be eventually on both sides to really understand both of those things. And I think eventually they will, because there's no need to end up not playing games and taking another big hit, like you said, like we've seen back in 94, 95.
I don't want that to happen again. All right, so let's kind of go into what does the future of Major League Baseball look like? Because I think that's part of that in the contract negotiations. One of the conversations we've had off the air and on the phone is I think that you are a big person to help bring the game forward. I think you are such an integral part of that. And part of that is social media content, being able to get Major League Baseball through other sources, through Instagram and YouTube. I want to be able to look up Cedric Mullins and see highlight reels of Cedric Mullins.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I want to be able to see that.
And you want to have it immediately. You want to have it immediately. I
think NBA does that the best out of all the leagues. They do it the best. I can go right now and search in John Morant or Trey Young or whoever I want.
Dude, how many? All of us saw Curry hit that shot out of the grandstands yesterday, right? Like it's viewed 500,000 times. But you don't see that, and you've got players like, Tatis and Ohtani and these figure pieces that we can build around. How does Major League Baseball move that forward?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I wish I had like the full answer for it.
You are the answer of it, Xavier. Just so you know, you're the answer.
No, man, but I think it has to be more of a collective understanding from people within the industry, even people outside of the industry. I think a lot of it is what the NBA and NFL do so well to attract. And I'll give an example is the Monday Night Football with Peyton Manning and Eli Manning, right?
Yeah.
What they do extremely well is they cross-collaborate with so many different types of personalities and so many different types of marketing tiers and opportunities. I think that's got to be more of the focus for MLB. And I think it has to start with a lot of that younger personality type collaboration. When you look at TikTok, using TikTok as a perfect example is something that helps gravitate. You talk about highlights. Like I should be able to pull up any highlight on my phone via TikTok, via Instagram, via whatever like that. And I think that's got to be one of them. And I think they're moving towards that direction because they've just recently hired, and I can't remember the woman's name, but she's supposed to handle, I want to say director of marketing or something like that. That it has come over from Marriott. We know Marriott Bonvoy does an amazing job with their marketing, and this is someone that's going to come in and supposed to help in that sense, especially because our game is so international. And I think that's got to be more of the focus is how do we move internationally, right? If we're not even making the ground that we want in the U.S., we got to start thinking about how do we bring this game together international to where more eyes are on it and we can get everybody to be on one page and understand that this game is cool. Like this game is what it was when Ken Griffey was playing, when Kenny Lofton was playing, when you were seeing those commercials. We got to bring that back to life. And that's got to be a focus moving forward.
Xavier, I think a big part of that, though, is fan-driven content. People like me, right? Like there are a lot, you go to YouTube right now and look up John Morant highlights. I would say 90% of it is fan-created content. It's not NBA stuff. And so it goes back to Major League Baseball understanding, hey, guys, you got to let the fans be able to create content here and be able to share this stuff. Because if you're worried about, hey, I don't want somebody else making money off of my product, you're missing the ship. You're missing the point, Major League Baseball. Allow fans to start sharing it, and more money will come to you tenfold. I promise you. And ticket sales, and jersey sales, and hat sales, and shoe sales. There is a million. Like, I love the Manning concept with you. Could you imagine you every Tuesday night or Wednesday night having a Manning type podcast?
I would love
where
it.
you bring on, bro, like
I would love it.
$1 million idea right here. Stephen D and Xavier Scruggs.
Welcome to Xavier Scruggs fan club. He's the president right
there. Bro, I told you this, Xavier, and I'm not trying to blow
definitely,
but I just think that you excite me because I've never seen baseball move in this direction before until you. And I think that it's important to the growth of the game.
Yeah, and I'm still, the good thing is like with the fan almost creating the content, like I'm still learning about that process, and I've continually feeling like that's ultimately what drives everything, right? Like I for an example, for me, I remember asking my followers like, hey, what should I do when I get to the stadium, right? And somebody told me, hey, ask one of the players what their number one piece of advice for high school players would be. And I went and did that and did it for a couple of players, and it like blew up. And so I started to understand, to your point, I started to understand that it's not about what I want to put out there, right? So it's not about what MLB wants to put out there. It's what these fans want. It's what they're commenting. If they say, hey, I want a video with Nolan Arenado showing me how to play third base, I got to do that tomorrow. Like that's, I got to do that today. So I'm starting to understand that a little bit better.
You want to know how many times I watched Vladdy Guerrero in the batting cage yesterday, talking about his weight shift? I mean, it's stuff like that really excites me, man. That's cool stuff.
I think Major League, every team. So one of the things that I love and also hate simultaneously about Major League Baseball is batting practice, right? Batting practice before the games. Imagine if every team had their own digital content person sitting on the field during batting practice, and you go to Orioles.com or Marlins.com or Cardinals.com, and I can watch batting practice live on Cardinals.com.
Why is it not already happening? Why is it not already happening?
I'm just telling you, Major League Baseball needs to hire Stephen D.
I
got it, man.
I'm with Major League Baseball, and I'm still trying to understand like why they just started doing lives of like showing a little bit of the batting practice. And I think what it is too, and I started to get the sense because I like weasel my way in there, right, a little bit, especially with the podcast. And like me actually being on the field before the games, I start to understand like MLB is still kind of like has a barrier between the players. Like they still don't want to like really dive in there. And I'm like, yo, you guys see the NFL? Like, do you guys see what everybody else is doing? Like, they're on the players. You have to figure out how to be on the players. And the players ultimately love it too for their own brands. Like the players are starting to understand this branding and marketing thing for their personal platform is real. And that's why MLB can help in that situation. So I'm still trying to, massage that with MLB too. But I think you're absolutely right, man.
Hey, your friend Brett Phillips, what is he more famous for? What he's done on the field or for his Instagram, man? Like you guys are awesome, killing it with that guy. But
you're right. That's a perfect example, man. That's a perfect example
of someone who's really embraced that digital media and taken his brand and I mean, for all intents and purposes, he's a bench player that he's got a great personality and he's put himself out there, and it's really cool to see that he's acting.
You guys just made me think about it, and that's a great point. And with Brett Phillips is like baseball. You guys just made me think about this. Baseball could do it even to the highest level because they're there 162 days, like 162 games of content or whatever it is with the players, and that there it is right there. There it is right there.
So ESPN, Major League Baseball, you have the answers to your marketing right here. We just found the solution for y'all. Just listen. All right.
Hey, Xavier, speaking of, I wanted to ask you this, and I think it was the Cardinals, man, and I think we talked about this months ago. I don't know if it was the Cardinals or Marlins, but I read a team is now providing housing for all their minor league baseball players. Is it the Cardinals?
It will be every team now.
It will be every team now.
But someone has already moved forward and made that commitment.
Yes, the Cardinals were actually, I believe, doing it. I'm sorry. Yeah, they had made that commitment already this year
before the announcement was made.
And there were a couple other teams. I don't remember which teams they were, but there were definitely a few teams quick to move. And I mean, you guys know me. Minor league 7-8 years before I even got to the big league, so I understand kind of the process, in which is tough for the players because you're thinking so much about stuff off the field. Like that's one of those things. If somebody takes care of my housing, that's another distraction I don't have to think about, right? I can just think about going out there and playing. I don't have to think about, man, I got to come up with rent when I'm getting paid $800 every 2 weeks. I got to think about what I'm going to eat over here. No, just they're going to take care of the housing. I can take care of these other things. Let me just do what I need to do on the field. So huge weight off the shoulder.
You know, and it always blows my mind that a team drafts a player, signs a player, invests this money into them, and lets them fend for themselves. Like, it makes no sense, you know, in their daily lives, and expect them to produce and progress through their system, you know, as professionals, and you're not taking care of them as a person. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, it tells you how many of them you have and how many you expect to actually perform at the big league level, you know?
Crazy.
You know, one of the things that I saw, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but it was a player in the minor leagues who took a picture of the meal that he gets after the game. And it was a piece of bread, a cheese, like a Kraft single cheese, and like meat. That was it. And it was in like the styrofoam box, and that's what they said. We're talking about professional athletes, and that's what you're providing them as your meal. And so one of the things, I love minor league baseball. I think it is one of the funnest things to go to in all of sports. I go to probably 5 to 10 minor league games a year, me and my kids.
It's awesome.
And there's a lot of them here in Maryland. And one of the things that I love about it is just the atmosphere. And I feel like, why aren't more minor league teams being able to take control of their marketing? Because as much as I give crap for Major League Baseball and their marketing, minor league baseball is a lot more freer to do a lot of things. And I don't think they've even stepped up their game yet with that too. And I think that's just a baseball branding thing.
I do. I think it's a baseball brand. And I think because it's almost like this old school mentality that's still like taking place, is like, hey, like, baseball players are quiet, do what you need to do, like, take care of what you need to do for the team. There's nothing about you that you're not supposed to put yourself out there. Yeah. It's archaic. Yeah, it really is when it comes to that sense. And I think, I don't know if it has to do with like America, like the rich history within the game of baseball for so long that it's stuck like that. But ultimately, that's the thought process. Is like, even a lot of those marketing teams within the minor leagues, like, they're scared to ask the players to do certain things. Like, they don't want to bother the players, and like, but it has to work the other way too, right? So like, that's one thing I do with Extraordinary Athletes, is like, help players understand, athletes understand, like, in order for you to build your brand and and market yourself and use your platform, use your voice, you have to be willing to take that shield down and go to a marketing person with the minor league, say, hey, how can I get involved in the community? How can I get involved with doing a camp? How can I get involved with making a highlight reel or a video? Like, all those things are easily accessible today in the minor leagues and in the major leagues. And it's still like we can't quite get there. And I think that once there's a full understanding from athletes as to how brands get to the size of like a LeBron James, a Stephen Curry, but then also players who have transitioned outside the game that weren't superstars that are still making money. Once they kind of understand that stuff is vitally as important as playing on the field, 100%. then there's going to be more of a comprehension about that.
There's no way a Jeremy Lin would ever happen in Major League Baseball, or a Tim Tebow. It just like, it's
right.
set up for that success.
Right. You're talking, and that's a great point. You're talking about a Tim Tebow who went from, not everybody knows, quote unquote, wasn't a good quarterback in the NFL, but what did he use? He used his tools of his brand to get to where he is today. Now you can see him arguing with Stephen A. Smith on ESPN, like, but doing so much more. So there's so much out there for athletes. I want them to understand that they can use that if they start diving in now, even in the minor leagues. And I'll just tell you a quick story. I might have told you guys this before, and I don't want to take up too much time, but I was in Colombia playing in winter ball. Like, nobody plays in Colombia. And I was writing blogs about what I was seeing. Hey, I have no internet right now. I don't know where to go eat. The gangs, the Colombian gangs are around the corner, like, just blogging about everything I saw. And St. Louis Cardinal fans, and I put it on a Cardinal blog, it's called Cardinal Nation. everybody started reading it, and I'm getting all these followers, getting all these people tweeting me and hey, we love your blog. And I started to realize even me as a low-level minor leaguer was creating an audience, creating a community, creating a brand that I didn't even know about back then. So it's like, it doesn't matter where you're at, but use the tools that you have surrounded with you and create that community, create that before it's too late.
I mean, that's a huge difference between baseball nowadays and any sport nowadays, because the accessibility, not only as a player, but as a fan, right? Like, in my opinion, like the Major League Baseball business model is broken. It's not relevant for today's standards or marketing abilities, because you're still relying on individual owners in all these minor league baseball cities and towns to run a business that's really doesn't get the Major League Baseball funding or money. It doesn't trickle down, right? You're relying on private owners to run a stadium and a baseball team that's affiliated with the Major League Baseball team. And to me, it's just a broken system right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think they're supposed to be making that change of like the teams kind of taking over the minor leagues. Obviously, that's going to be a slow transition as you add more kind of tiers to the organization. But ultimately, I'm hoping that helps. I've seen the facility changes already, so that's good for minor leaguers. A lot of teams have taken over like the nutrition side of things. So hopefully that kind of speeds up and everything gets to where it needs to be.
All right. I wouldn't be doing justice if I didn't talk a little bit about the Marlins and some of the moves they made before the lockout started. I at least want to bring them up to you. So the Miami Marlins made a few different trades at the end of November and the beginning of December. Traded for Jacob Stallings. They got Joey Wendell from Tampa, and they also got Avisel Garcia in free agency. What do you think about the Miami Marlins and some of the moves that they've already made and maybe potential make as hopefully the season opens up sometime in February?
Cedric Mullins.
I love him, man.
He's my favorite player in baseball right now. He really is.
He's one of my favorite players. I'm about to put out a top 5 most exciting players to watch, and he's on that list. So, but anyways, the Marlins, the move behind the plate in a Stallings. Why am I forgetting his first name? What did you say? Jacob Stallings. Yes. I think that's going to prove to be even more valuable than some of those other moves that they've made because of his ability behind the plate, but then to be able to man a rotation and a young rotation that's already proven how good they are. And I think that's got to be your focus, right? Is that rotation and building around that. So as long as you have a catcher behind the plate, and I know he's already 31, 32 years of age, but I think you need a leader in that backstop to be able to continue to develop those pitchers in the way that they're already going. Yep. And then ultimately adding the offense together. The catching spot was one of the weakest spots for the Marlins there. So I'm glad that they did something about that. You don't get the offensive production that you might be looking for, but defensively solid, and you don't get much better than that. Offensively, love the Garcia move, and I think offense is another area where they're going to have to continue to keep looking and being creative out there on the trade market. I think that's an area where they have to continue.
Rizzo, I want Rizzo so bad in Miami.
I think Rizzo is an example of somebody that's proven themselves, that's going to show consistency, and I think that's something that you have to continue to look for too. Is now is not the time for the Marlins to try to go out there and take a chance on somebody that hasn't quite proven themselves. I think they need that, and I think they're in that window to where they go get some more consistent pieces that they know are able to give you a full season of great at-bats and give you full season of great production. Even signing the Aguilar back, I don't think that's a bad thing because he's shown consistently power, right? And if you're able to add more of that into the lineup, that's going to be big for them. And I think even look at the rest of the division, this isn't a super strong division, right? And I think you can take advantage of being able to compete in this division if you go get some offense.
Cameron?
Especially with the pitching staff. I mean, the Jacob Stallings signing, I couldn't agree with you more because of his defensive metrics and his pitch framing and what he does to help a young pitching staff is pretty amazing. It'd be interesting to see after, hopefully and soon, the collective bargaining agreement gets signed, how many of these other big ticket free agents out there get signed and where they go, because there's some big names still out there that are, I think, waiting, for see what the salary cap looks like, or not salary cap, but the free agent signing money looks like, and what teams have to work with. Man, it's Carlos Correa and Chris Bryant. Nobody talks about Chris Bryant. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I want Rizzo, because Rizzo is a Miami boy and he wore number 13 because he loves Dan Marino. Okay.
Right.
That's why I want Rizzo. No other reason.
It's funny. I got a question for you, being a St. Louis guy. Why was the change made so quickly after the season with Mike Schilt? Is that his name?
Yeah, Mike Schilt. Yeah. I'm still trying to figure that one out, honestly. Yeah, I'm actually supposed to talk to Mike today too, so maybe I'll get some insight and pass along to you guys. But no, honestly, I thought he was a great fit. You look at what he did with the streak and got them into the playoffs as a team. Mid-August, we weren't even looking at this team going into the playoffs, right? So I think you come to those end of the season meetings between the GM, the president of operations, John Mozeliak, and Schilt. And there just must have been something that was just off base as far as going into 2022, right? A manager, oftentimes, especially in today's game, they're given the script, right? They're given, hey, this is from the analytics, this is from the data, this is what we need to do as far as going into next season, this is what we need to do as far as going into every game. And there might be a disagreement in that sense. And a lot of time, and Mike Schilt is more of that old school type manager to where he doesn't want something drawn up for him. He wants to be able to make those decisions in game, and he does a great job with that. So that might have been something that they might have been butting heads over. And ultimately, I'm hoping Schilt gets another job, because that's a great manager, and he deserves to manage somewhere.
He deserves to be a major league. He's a baseball guy, right? Like he deserves to be there, and he's proven. What do you think about the Mets and the moves they made?
Man, what I love about what the Mets have been able to do is I think there's an understanding that like they need to win now. Like it's more of like, hey, especially with the Scherzer signing, like you add a Scherzer to your team, you're not like waiting around a couple of years to win. Like you have to win now. And I think that what I liked about what their moves were, especially the Marte, Mark Canha, the Escobar, is shoring up the defense and the versatility within that team, giving you flexibility and allowing the pitching staff, allowing you to sign other pitchers and say, hey, we're going to put a defense behind you. Like, don't worry about that. So I think that's one way you attract free agent pitchers, but then also you got guys now that are going to give you great at-bats. You don't have strikeout guys within that order. You got guys that are getting on base. And ultimately, it's going to be a big thing to see what they do with the bullpen and how DeGrom also is able to come back next year. Because if you have a 1-2 in the Max Scherzer and DeGrom, you're straight. But DeGrom has to come back healthy, and there has to be some more of that bullpen help. But as far as the offensive moves in the Scherzer, I think it's been big for them.
Man, they put Starling Marte in front of Pete Alonso. That's crazy. That guy's an on-base machine.
Right.
Pete Alonso.
And he's going to steal his bags, too. He's going to steal his bags. They're going to – and Lindor should come back better. We know he started off really slow, so hopefully he gets a full season under his belt of, like, being better. And I think they can still add a guy like Chris Bryant.
You said a little bit ago that the NL East was, that the Marlins had a chance to. NL East is scary. They got the defending World Series champions. They got the Mets. Phillies have, they got their guys there too with Bryce Harper. It's not like they're a pushover team. And then you got the Marlins too on top of that, and then the Nationals.
Yeah, but the one thing is that the Nationals are going to be trash. But the one thing is. Those teams beat up on each other, which allows you to stay in the race. Like, so no matter what, you should be competitive team. Like, I don't want to see any of these teams go through a rebuild this year, and they shouldn't, because they all have an opportunity to be at the top of that division.
Yeah, agreed.
All right, Xavier. Let me change subjects before I get you out of here real quick. You're a football fan, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who's your team?
Man, we went through the San Diego Chargers were my team. They moved up to LA, and now I'm kind of like, and I live in Tampa, so I slithered over to that Buccaneers side because
Xavier, Xavier, my guy. All right, the reason I ask, okay, is because we do tailgates. We do a pregame show. We have a tailgate. The Jets and the Patriots are coming up in the next few weeks here. I want to invite you to come out and hang out with us at a tailgate, man, and come to a Dolphins game.
Oh, man. Bro. Hey, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, man. I know you guys do it big, too. I know you guys do it big, man.
We do it big. We have a whole setup, man. We have a setup with Tail Greeter, who's our sponsor of the podcast. Shout out to Tail Greeter. And we have a whole setup there, man. And then we go and we watch the game, and the Dolphins are the hottest team right now in the NFL. I'm just saying, man. Come hang out and hang out with us for a couple days.
That sounds fun, man. I'm gonna have to take you up on that for sure.
Who doesn't want to be in Miami during these cold weather months, man?
Yeah, seriously, man. I'm already thinking about Prime 112 steak right now that you said that, man.
Man. I'm saying because the Jets play next weekend. Hey, man. Jets play next weekend here, so you come next weekend, hang out with us, and then I think January 9th is the Patriots game. So I don't know which one's better for you. You need to. I'm serious about it, bro.
Yeah, I appreciate that for sure.
Speaking of Tampa Bay, and I'll get you off the hook here, Xavier, before Steven talks you into something you don't want to do. I just was reading this morning, Tampa and New England are the odds-on favorite for the Super Bowl. How funny would that be, man? Belichick and Brady in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I saw that too this morning. I was like, man, that's even crazy to think about. But sports is so crazy that something like that could happen very easily. It's and you look at how both teams are playing it, and it doesn't seem like I mean the Patriots really came out of nowhere. Like we thought, hey, maybe they start like I want to say 2-4, something like that, and then came back and started doing their thing. So. I can see it happen. I can see that storybook ending where Brady beats Belichick and then smell you later. Go retire, man.
Peace out. Right. Have a nice day.
Yeah.
100%, man. 100%. All right, Xavier, look, man, I could have you on for another hour and we could talk all sorts of sports.
Facts.
I love when you come on the program. Thank you so much for being part of the program. You're a part of Miami sports music. I don't care what anybody says, man. You're part of the family.
Appreciate you.
Tell people where they can find you and your podcast, which, by the way, everybody, it's an amazing podcast. So promote all your stuff, man.
Yeah, man. Xavier_Scruggs on all the platforms. And I'm doing the TikTok thing. I'm really, that's one area where I'm really trying to get that growth there and provide a lot of that content value back to fans and my audience. So that's one area, and as well as Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all that, man. But the Bigs podcast out on MLB.com, all the podcasts, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. But come see about me. Come see about me.
Hey, keep throwing up those Instagram posts about the food. That's what I follow, man.
No, I need to do that more too.
Come to Miami, man. We'll take you to a couple spots. That's all I'm saying.
All right, man. You sold me.
I like it. All right. I'm going to hit you up later on today, man. But
keep me posted on that.
All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I love you, brother. Keep doing your thing. And when you're ready to sit down, when you get at Major League Baseball and say, hey, look, I know a guy. He's got all the answers to how to promote your game better.
Just slide it right over.
Hey, Xavier, you have a blessed holiday. Merry Christmas to you and your family, man. And it's great to see you and the family thriving. It's really cool.
Hey, appreciate you guys, man. Thank you for having me on here. Blessings to you and the fams, man. Have a good one.
See you later, Xavier. Peace. God, I love that man.
Talk for hours with that guy.
He's awesome, dude. He is so he's the best. He is definitely one of my favorite people to have on the show. Did you learn anything about Major League Baseball and kind of the direction? What did you get from that interview as far as the lockout's concerned?
Honestly, Xavier's really a lot closer to the game than any of us, and has a lot more connections and insights. It's kind of disheartening and depressing as a baseball fan to hear him think that it could push into the regular season, and that the two sides are further apart than maybe what the media says or what we realize is probably more accurate.
Yeah, 100%. All right, guys, look, this has been an amazing show today. I know some people are probably upset we didn't get the Dolphins chat in big, but hey, like, guys, there's other ladies, there's other teams in South Florida. We got to talk about them. This is Miami sports.
And honestly, bro, I needed a mind break.
I know, right? It's that we're going into a bye week. You know, and tomorrow's going to be a fun show because tomorrow we're going to get all the fix, man. Tomorrow we're going to have on Richmond Webb, right? That'll be a fun. And then we'll have Daniel Oyefusi on for the Miami area. So you'll get all your Dolphins fixed tomorrow, people. We'll have a big time tomorrow. So, man, any final words of the day for you, man?
No, man, like as far as the Dolphins go, it's about getting healthy and it's kind of cool to see all the positive press from the national media that the Dolphins are getting. I think there was a fan site that had them ranked like the 16th best team, up 6 spots or whatever, but they're trending in the right direction. And I think shows like Good Morning Football and ESPN's Game Day are starting to recognize what's going on down here in Miami, and it's cool to see. And then outside of Dolphins world, just watching the excitement about the U again, like the relevancy of the U, and it seems to be, to me, like a positive direction that the university has taken in a serious commitment to the football program. Again, I think over the past 10 years that the commitment hasn't been as robust as it needs to be. And I think we're seeing that change back to what it needs to be again.
Oh, yeah, most definitely, man. Pete with the $5 donation. No, Steven, it was a good one. Keep it up. Good to hear from this and the other sports I don't follow like Dolphins. Hey,
Thanks,
man,
Pete.
I appreciate it. Pete, I appreciate the love, Pete. Hope you all had a good time in the chat today. It sounds like it was a lot of fun. People were talking about video games. I heard in there. D1, hit me up, D1. And, it sounded like people were talking about just a lot of random things in the chat. And that's part of the nostalgia and greatness of the show. Oh, and Alexander Renee Diaz became a member of the channel. So shout out. I did post it when you were up there, but congratulations, man. Welcome to the family.
Thank you, Alexander. It means a lot.
Yes, 100%. All right, man. Look, guys, go enjoy the rest of your Wednesday today. We're going to have a good day. We'll be back bright-eyed and bushy-tailed tomorrow, hanging out with your boy Richmond Webb and about to say Xavier Scruggs. Daniel Oyefusi. I'm about to hit up Xavier on text and be like, hey, bro, what game you coming to? But that'll be a good time.
Joe Lee, we're going to go to a game together. I'm going to make you love Miami Marlins. It's not the Florida Marlins. It's the Miami Marlins. I'm going to make you love Miami Marlins baseball all again.
Yep. You'll fall back in love. You'll be like, oh, yeah. You know what we'll do? You know what we'll do? Maybe we'll do this year when the Marlins come back. We'll do a Miami sports music night at the park. And we'll get a section and we'll get tickets and we'll do like a pregame bar or something like that.
Hey, March 31st is the home opener. It's a 4:00 game, opening day. I don't miss it. It's a national holiday in my household. My kid doesn't go to school. My wife takes off work. We go to opening day, whether it's the Marlins here at home. If they're out of town, we go out of town. If the Cubs play somewhere, we go there. But I think we should be there. It's March 31st.
All right. Alex, please, I'd love to go down for our Marlins game, just like how we do it with the Dolphins, Brandon says. We might have something here, Cam. Steven, we got to do a Mets-Marlins game.
See, okay. Look at that. Hype is real.
Hey, man, if this is something y'all want, you know what? We make the fans happy here at Miami Sports Music. We have to do what they say. We might have to do this.
I love it, man. Let's do it.
We'll definitely make that happen. That'll be a lot of fun. So we'll make that happen. We'll set it up, and we'll get we'll get Xavier to come out too. Hopefully, although he's busy during baseball season. But you know, if we can make it happen, we'll definitely make it happen. All right, guys. Hey, ladies, gentlemen, we'll see you tomorrow right here on the #1 Miami Fan Morning Show, Clock Blockers on Miami Sports Music Podcast Miami Sports Music Podcast Network. I'll see you later. Bye.
Have a great day.